Hello, my name's Ward. Well, I'm a rather strange little old man.
Hell, we just had a marvelous conference. Marvelous. What?
Are you ready to master Angular? Oasis Digital offers Angular Bootcamp, a 3-day intense workshop class for individuals or teams. They cover Angular 4 and 2 and focus on the skills and knowledge you need for complex, data-rich applications. They also still offer AngularJS for teams supporting older projects. Bring them to your site or send developers to them in St. Louis, San Francisco, New York, DC, and other cities, and online at angularbootcamp.com. Hey everybody, and welcome to another Adventures in Angular show. This week on our panel we have Alyssa Nicoll.
Hey everybody.
John Papa.
Hello.
Joe Eames.
Hey everybody.
Shai Resnick.
Hello.
Ward Bell.
Hello, everyone.
I'm Charles Max Wood from devchat.tv, and we have a couple of special guests. We have Peter Bacon Darwin.
Hi, everyone.
And Megan Kingdom-Davies.
Hi, everyone.
Oh.
Now, she's been really quiet during the pre-show. I think we might have scared her a little bit.
Sorry about that.
I got excited because I read the name and I saw Magic Kingdom.
No, I saw Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat.
Anyway, you guys want to introduce yourselves? I think we know you, but I don't know that our audience will all know you.
So most people in the Angular community might have come across me somewhere. I'm the guy who has been looking after AngularJS for the last couple of years, along with a fantastic team of developers. And I also produced a really cool tool that no one really understands called Jenny.
I love Jenny. Jenny with the light brown hair.
Oh, I thought you said jelly. I was like, are you taking credit for jelly? Okay, anyways, keep going.
Yeah.
Jelly is not normally used as a tool, I don't think.
Not yet.
Oh,
Megan,
little face.
Megan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I am the event manager for White October events. White October events, if you don't know, are the organising committee behind Angular Connect. I work with Pete, and Pete does a lot of our programming, and we do all of the organising for Angular Connect. This is its 4th year. It will be in 2018, and I've been involved with it since the very beginning in 2015. And it's one of our biggest conferences that we run, but it's definitely a lot of fun.
So if you've got any compliments to about Angular Connect and how amazing it is, then you have to send them all Megan's way, because it's White October Events who really does all the work. Josh and Ed and I really only sort of big picture thinkers, but they do all the hard work.
Well, I was going to chime in because of this group here, I know I am one who attended Angular Connect. And I loved it for all kinds of reasons, but it certainly ran extremely smoothly and was very friendly to conference attendees and speakers alike. So thank you, Megan.
I can join Ward with this as a speaker. I got a wonderful experience, and if you know my talks, I usually have weird demands. I need a cape and a special room and stuff like that. And the production team, Megan and Ruth and everybody was amazing. So thank you.
Really, Shai, I never noticed that you had any unusual demands at all. It just seemed, you just turn up, very professional, do the job, out the door. No delays.
That's me. Yeah, exactly.
And everything always goes right on your shows, Shai.
Yeah. We can talk about it later. Let them tell about Angular Connect before.
Yeah.
So no, let's talk about Shai.
Okay, what do you want to know?
So I haven't been able to attend any Angular Connects. Do you want to give me an idea of what I'm missing, other than just the normal, regular conference experience that I would expect?
Sure, Chuck. And I'm shocked that we haven't managed to invite you to a conference yet, so we'll have to remedy that for 2018. So the big thing when we started Angular Connect was that we wanted it to be more than just a conference where a bunch of speakers stood up and gave a talk. We really wanted to create a forum for developers, both well-known in the community, like the speakers and the Google Angular team, and your Joe Blogs developer in the street who's actually making cool stuff with Angular, to be able to come together and actually connect and make new contacts, share ideas, get help with the problems. And so we wanted to create this sort of environment where that could happen. So obviously the big selling point is the big speaking names that we get. And that's been a really strong element over the last 3 years. But what we've been doing over each year is incrementally improving the contact that you can have with the well-known people in the Angular community. And I think we really nailed it this year. Loads and loads of people coming up to me and saying, I finally got it. I don't need to go to the talks because they're all on YouTube. I just go and hang out in these office hours rooms and the Q&A panels and in the corridors, and all these speakers are so nice, and they'll actually listen to me banging on about my small computer program that I can't get to work, and they actually help me fix it. And so many people came up to me and said that. So this is really what Angular Connect is about for me.
That's cool.
What do you guys think for the people who actually went? Is that ring true for you, or am I missing the mark completely?
Well, absolutely.
It's definitely all board does.
No, but I mean the whole the way you structured it is to make sure that happens. And we were talking about this the other day. For example, you have rooms for where people, I guess we call it office hours, but it's not like you have to go anywhere to get to the office hour. It's right there. It's like another part of the conference. It's a conference room right next to the regular one. So I could either be attending a lecture or I could go into the office hours room, and I didn't have to troop around to get there. And also, everybody has to kind of crisscross in order to get from one place to another. They have to run into each other, and they kind of meet in the middle. And that's suddenly somebody who thought they might be going to a talk is actually having a great hallway conversation with somebody else, and that they've never met, didn't know. I just saw that going on all the time, and I thought it was marvelous.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the thing you did in the first evening. I was so busy with my show and then hosting the lightning talks, and by the time I finished, I went outside to actually see people and speak with people. And you had these beers and like lounge environment or atmosphere there, and it was pretty cool. It's the first time I got to actually talk with people, but not necessarily about like code and stuff, but more like chilling out and having a laugh and going to random people and just saying cheers with my beer, and it was very, very cool. So I wish it could be like that, like the entire thing without talks, like remove the talks, remove everything, just like give us beers and like time to talk. Like
so basically you're saying that we should just get everyone in a big room and have a big stack of beers in the corner and just leave you to it.
Exactly. That would be amazing.
Wait, I mean, also make sure there's still plugs and like laptops available. I think that could be magical, but yes.
Yeah. If you want to check out Facebook in between.
So you mentioned that evening, Shai, and I think this was kind of a new thing that we did this year. The previous years, we've always had a party in the evening, but I've always been slightly disappointed with the party. Lots of people get to the end of the day and they say, "Oh, it's a party, but we want to go out and have some dinner somewhere." So they all go off and they rarely come back. So the parties always end up being quite undersubscribed. And although the White October events team and Ed and Josh and I have a fantastic time dancing on the dance floor, I always feel like we were missing a trick. So this year we decided to change the format, and instead of having a straight party, we were going to extend the conference through into the evening, but do it in a slightly more informal way. So as Shai mentioned, he did his NG game show to kick things off, but then he ran a whole session of lightning talks where anyone who was attending the conference could give a speech for, was it 5 or 10 minutes? I can't remember now. But then we had some other stuff going on. We had some music in the corridors with this cool violin player who was doing space-related improvisations, and then we had a coding competition and other things. And the idea was to try and keep people in the conference. Tell them that you've paid all this money to come to the conference, and it doesn't have to stop at the end of the first day. And it provided yet another opportunity for people to come and hang out, chill, but perhaps less stressed. Because it was not about trying to see all the things, but just being around and hanging out and getting to know each other. So hopefully that went down well. I think it worked much better, and lots more people stayed into the evening than previously for the parties.
Another thing that happened for me was that I talked to people I'd never met before. And, if I was a conference goer who was going for the first time to some, I wasn't really well known or something like that, and I came to Angular Connect, I think I would have a really good chance of getting easily into a conversation with somebody I didn't know and feeling a part of it instead of sort of lonely wandering around wondering what I was doing here. I think Angular Connect does a nice job of breaking that barrier down because how else? I was just I just met so many people I'd never met before, and we were having really, really good conversations. And I'd like to credit Angular Connect for that.
And we also have to remember that Ward signed up for a really cool thing that we do, which is I think fair number of conferences have scholarships where they help people who wouldn't be able to afford to come otherwise to come. Often people who are new to the industry or from underrepresented groups. But what we also did was we asked some of the more well-known members, like people like Ward, to act as mentors for these people. And so we hooked them up at the beginning of the conference, and they were able to help them connect and network a bit and get to know people and feel less sort of overwhelmed by the whole experience. And I think Ward did a great job of that, along with lots of other people.
Yeah, I would say I've done that for RubyConf. I did that one year. They call them guides, and yeah, they do that for their scholarship folks. And it's really interesting to see just what an impact it has for those folks. Because by the end of the conference, I've seen people, and they've made all of these connections, and they wind up getting jobs from those and things like that. And Ward's talking about all the people that he met, and Pete, you're talking about the opportunities that you're trying to create for people to talk. And for me, that's the big draw for the conference. Being in the room for some of the talks is important so I can get some questions answered, but I can watch the talks on YouTube afterward. It's being there, being with the community and getting to know people that really is the big payoff for me. And just to hear that the conference is built around that and is set up to kind of serendipitously help people do that. And then for people who don't already know somebody there, giving them somebody to kind of lean on. All of this is just really, really important for a killer conference experience.
Do you know, it's so funny, Chuck, I realized this morning we were about to have this podcast this evening, and I suddenly realized I hadn't seen any of the talks, because throughout the whole conference, I'm just sort of running around, helping out, doing a little bit of emceeing, going and hanging out in the office room or whatever. And I never see any of the talks at all. So this morning I had to get YouTube up and then put all of the talks on double speed. I was playing them in 2 screens at the same time and just trying to watch them all so that I had something to talk about in terms of the content that was actually out there. But, it's not a big deal for me.
Pete, where are the talks at on? I was actually just on there this morning, at least, just a few hours here. So after that, I'm trying to find the talks on YouTube. I can't find them. If I just YouTube for Angular Connect 2016, I don't find a playlist.
Well, 2016 is a bad place to start.
Not 2016, 2017. I do find 2016's playlist, but I don't find 2017's playlist.
So basically, we've got all of the live stream videos are up. They went up straight away.
Yeah.
We had a bit of a technical hiccup in getting the actual individual videos up. So we had to not re-record them, but re-edit them all. So that's taken a while, and I believe that they're going up in the next few days. We were just talking about that this evening, actually. So I'm sorry that we don't have individual talks up yet. But one of the beauties of YouTube is that you've got this little scrubber thing, and as you move your mouse along, it shows you all of that like little thumbnail of where, and it's quite easy to see where each of the talks starts. So that's what I spent my morning doing. But yeah, keep an eye on it's the Angular Connect is the channel. So if you go to Angular Connect channel, then all of the live streams are there. And maybe by the time this podcast is broadcast, you might be able to see the individual ones there too.
That reminds me that there was something you also did that was really new for me, which is you closed captioned all of the talks as they were given. So anybody who was in attendance, there was a little screen up there, and it was live closed captioning. And it, the manifest reason was that your conference, Angular Connect, was reaching out to the community that doesn't hear as well as some others. But what I think you and I mentioned, that it was great for those of us who were sort of semi paying attention, and then suddenly sort of in the back of our brain we said, huh, what? We could look back up at the screen, and the screen would tell us what it was that we just missed. So it was actually good for those of us who hear well. But it was really great that you had the closed captioning going on.
Dude, I have to tell this story. So I hosted the lightning talk, right? Lightning talks, and one of the lightning talks was from the guys who are actually are doing the live screen captioning, and they show the technology and they show the process of how they are doing it. So you had one guy on the stage and another woman who is like, I think she's the founder of this company, explaining about the process, and he writes simultaneously what she's talking. And it's like, it ended, and I went upstage and said to the audience, I think this is the first time I ever saw something that the closest thing is ever to a superhero in real life, because I cannot imagine how you could do like simultaneously. It looks like a computer program is doing it, and it's actually like a cool technique of pressing like few keys at once, like chords on the piano, to like assemble all the words, and it's amazing. It's psycho. It's amazing to see it. So I hope you will upload this talk and everybody could see it, because it's.
Did we record that? Are you talking about Mike Brockie's talk?
No, this was also a great talk, but the talk before his talk about the live captioning, like how do they actually do it?
Oh, right. Okay.
Did you see
Mike Brockie's, I didn't see that one. I just saw Mike's. Mike's was his actual talk, not the lightning talk.
Mm-hmm.
So his talk about schematics.
Oh, schematics. Yeah.
That was hilarious because the transcriptionist was transcribing and Mike was reading off a line of code, and it was schematics : schematics space schematics / schematics. And then he says, before that, he says, I apologize to this transcriptionist. And after a few minutes, the transcriptionist types a few things, and then it actually changed, and it showed the transcriptionist typing and saying, okay, please stop.
That was actually Hans, but that was funny.
It was so funny. Oh, yeah, that's right. It was Hans. It was Hans talking about something else, but
they had
the same name.
Schematics.
It's like another NG wet moment.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was so funny. They were like playing with the transcriptionist just a little bit, and it was pretty hilarious.
But Pete, can you tell us a little bit about how that came to be, and how, if somebody in another conference wanted to do that, and maybe this is also a question for Megan, how, was it just outrageously expensive, or do you think it's the kind of thing that other conferences can take on, or what?
I'll give Pete a little break here. So we work with white coat captioning, and we have done for the last couple of years, and they caption all of our conferences that we run here at White October events, and they're truly amazing. We use them sometimes on site, but they're actually based in the US, and they sometimes do the captioning remote as well, so they do it via Skype, so that they're actually listening to the conference in the UK and then captioning from the US, which I just think is amazing. And they work incredibly long shifts at all weird times of day. So I'm going to give them a shout out here. But It's a small price to pay in your conference budget when you're really thinking about accessibility. And you've already talked about a few reasons why we do it, especially for those who are hard of hearing, but also for those people who English is maybe their second language, or a speaker has a thick accent. It just makes talks a lot more accessible for everybody. And yeah, I'd highly recommend it. Any conference organisers can do it, and the AV side of things is really, really easy. So I'd highly recommend it.
I think there's tons of value and benefit to it, even beyond just the accessibility for people for whom English is a second language or who are hard of hearing, because even as a native English speaker who has good hearing, there was quite a few times when somebody said something that I didn't quite catch, and I could turn to the transcription, which is, just a few seconds delayed, and then be able to read through and read everything that they said. So I found a ton of value out of it as a conference goer.
Yeah, it always throws people through a loop, but I actually, when they come over to my house, I always have subtitles on, and it's just how I've always lived. And so whenever I go to conferences, like Google I/O also did that, and I just have such a mass amount of appreciation for it, because it's how I consume content, and I don't need to consume it that way, but it's how I'm used to it. And so that, yeah, I agree with you guys. There's so many reasons. So thanks for doing that. That's awesome.
Well, and just to pile on, I mean, it goes well beyond just the experience of the people at the conference. YouTube allows you to add closed captioning to your videos. And so when you put the videos up, you can add the text, and it'll put the closed captioning up on the video as you go. And so it's accessible not just to people at the conference, but to anybody who watches the video. And you can also use that text then to, build out a solid description and things. And, so there are a whole bunch of other benefits to the community at large and to increasing the awareness of the conference.
And this is also part of our sort of bigger plan to, as well as just connecting people, we want to be able to enable people. And so we're really interested in diversity and improving the diversity of the community and improving the inclusion of people. So obviously making the conference more, there's a wonderful, wonderful woman called Svetlana who came from America to give a talk. She's profoundly deaf, and she brought a sign language interpreter with her. And so she was going around, she was very gregarious, having loads of conversations with people, and this wonderful sign interpreter was having to do all of the sort of interactions with people. But she gave this a fantastic talk about what it's like to use web technology as a deaf person. But she was talking to us about what we'd done to try and make her life easier in terms of coming as a speaker. And she did say that our conference had been the most deaf-friendly conference that she'd ever attended, either as a speaker or an attendee. And the closed captioning, just one of those things. We felt it was really important to support her in terms of being able to bring an interpreter along as well. Which she said was very rare. Conferences don't tend to do that. They kind of balk at the idea of like, what, we're going to have to have an interpreter for you as well? Oh my God, that's going to add extra cost or whatever. But we also provide like a loop system, so people with hearing aids can connect to it to get the audio. But one of the things that we realized was that we were kind of guessing at what we're doing. We're trying to make best efforts to improve the accessibility of the conference. But one of the things that came out of we have 2 lunches during the conference. One is about the community, but the other one was about diversity. And as well as discussing all of the gender issues, which are very, very pertinent in the industry at the moment, we also talked about general accessibility. And one of the things that came out of that was that we should engage with people from underrepresented groups really early on in our planning, bring them in and get them to basically audit what we're doing and see if there are things that we've missed. One of the classic things that was highlighted to me at the conference was that if you were if your gender was not clearly male or female, which toilet do you use? Because we just had male and female toilets, and this is a real problem for someone who doesn't identify with either of those, or they are maybe transitioning from one to the other. And they said, well, you do have some disabled toilets, but then I feel like I shouldn't be going into those ones because they're specifically for disabled people. So if I actually thought about that and provided that some gender neutral toilets somewhere for people to use, that would have made their life more easy and made them feel more comfortable about coming to the conference. Similarly, this year we had a quiet room, which is really useful not only for people, say, for instance, if they wanted to go and pray, which is often necessary for some people, but also, like, for instance, if you're on the autistic spectrum, sometimes things just get a little bit too manic and you just need to go somewhere where it's really quiet and calm and get away from all the busyness. So all these areas are areas that we're trying to improve, but we've realized that if we actually go and talk to those people up front really early on, then we can make sure that we've covered those before, rather than waiting until they complain. So that's one of the things that we're going to try and do for next year is try and sort of get these audits in. But I was really pleased that lots of the feedback from underrepresented people was that we had gone above and beyond what they'd normally expect in a conference. And for me, that's really what diversity is all about. It's not about having head counts and saying we must have X number of women and X number of people from ethnic backgrounds. It should be, how can we make it so inviting and so welcoming for everyone so they all feel comfortable to be there without having to put themselves through a hassle to get there. And hopefully, the other conferences in the Angular world will take up on this, and we would like to be able to sort of share some of the ideas with them. And lots of them are not very pricey. They're mostly just about being thoughtful. Sorry, end of rant. But that really is important to me. I think without that, then we're not really doing our job. Yeah. And I think that we should also take that into the workplace in general, and also the way that we interact with people. And hopefully we can sort of act as a beacon for that.
Well, I obviously am in no position to say whether you were successful at that, but I can tell you as somebody who is on the dominant side of every one of the dimensions, I'm on the winning team on every one of these dimensions. It didn't feel reverse oppressive at all. I mean, it was just great. It just felt like a natural part of the conference. So
I also attended
old white males don't have a problem here. Is when my point is, hey, if you're an old white male and you've been winning all along, you're still winning.
But we realize that we do need to have a dressing room for people with a large number of wardrobe options so they can get changed at various different points of the conference.
Wow, Ward, you were amazing. Like, Ward changed like, I think 5 outfits, and each one was better than the other. Like, what was the first one? Aladdin? Or it was the second one?
That was the second one. I had a pirate to begin with.
You were a pirate.
Lord, seriously, though.
Pirate? I thought you were some kind of town crier.
How much luggage do you pack, Ward? Like, for real?
Hey, Alyssa, you shouldn't talk. Should I tell the story from NGConf about your wig?
Okay, so some people judge me and people like Shai and Ward because we have pink wigs available in our suitcases because we're going to a conference and you might need to pull it out. I don't know. It's normal, right? Like, but I just don't know how you do it, Ward. Like, it was overseas and you had that many outfits for, I'm assuming, like 1 or 2 days. So, like, do you literally check like multiple bags?
Well, actually, I was staying the whole week and I did it all in carry-on.
What? All right,
wow.
We have to have a podcast sometime that Ward teaches Alyssa how to do traveling right, because
Nice.
I'm apparently failing ethically.
He has one of those vacuum cleaners that sucks the air out of a plastic bag, and all of his clothes just go down into a pocket-sized envelope.
There you go.
The
other trick is to put all of your clothes on when you get on the plane.
and sit right below the air condition.
Oh my goodness. So to bring us back on track, I've never got to attend an Angular Connect. So how big is this conference? How many attendees and speakers and such?
This episode is sponsored by Linode. Linode is offering listeners of this podcast a $20 credit, which is good for 4 free months at their lowest plan. Their plans start at 1 gigabyte of RAM for $5 a month. You can get your servers in any of their 10 data centers, and their high memory plans start at 16 gigabytes. Get a server running in under a minute. They do hourly billing with a monthly cap on all plans and add-on services like backups, node balancers, Longview, etc. VMs for full control, running Docker containers, encrypted disks, VPNs, etc. You can run a private Git server. They provide native SSD storage, 200 gigabit network, and Intel E5 processors. They have 24/7 friendly support, even on holidays, and a 7-day money-back guaranteed. So go check them out at linode.com/adventures in Angular.
I'll let Megan give you the details on that. She's probably got more of a handle on it. It was lots.
It is lots. So we this year had about 1,100 attendees, and then we have in total about 60 speakers altogether. And then we have our workshops the day before. This year we had 7, which is the most we've ever done. And then we've got all of our staff and our sponsors as well, so it's pretty busy.
That's incredible. 60 speakers. Were there multiple tracks, I'm assuming, in order to fit all of them in?
Yes, so we do 2 main tracks for the main talks that we do. One will fit our keynotes, and then we have a smaller track where we have the rest of our talks. And then we have 3 other tracks. We have one that fits about 150 for our mini workshops. So those are workshops that take 3 or 4 hours. Then we have our office hours room, which Pete's spoken a little bit about, which is where we invite our speakers to come into after their talk to chat to attendees. Attendees can come in with questions and problems and speak to speakers one-on-one. And then we have our Q&A panels, which we have 6 or 7 panels across the 2 days on specific topics. And we invite speakers, experts in those topics to sit on the panels, and they are hosted by one of our MCs.
Wow, that's incredible.
And then we've got our retro games room. So each year we have a theme for the conference. This year it was space. So we had loads of space-themed games, old consoles and arcade games. And then we have a chill-out space, which we fill with loads of bean bags and comfy seating. And it's just a place for people to have a little bit of downtime, do a bit of work if they need to, grab a drink. And then this year we ran some mindfulness and yoga sessions that were just informal. People could drop in and learn a little bit about that.
So you had a
cool.
a special spacey space in the conference.
It was a very spacious space.
Yeah, and a few space cookies, or that was just my experience.
I think that might just be you, Shai.
Yeah.
You know, you haven't lived until you've seen Shai do yoga. He puts on these skimpy outfits with the sort of the furry leggings right out of the 80s dance things, and he does his interpretive yoga. It's amazing. You should tell him about that, Shai.
Oh,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
I missed it.
I teach RxJS that way.
I wanted to see Ward doing yoga in his genie outfit. I think that would have been really awesome.
I have to work on the splits. I have to work on my splits.
So there's a lot going on. I'm interested to hear, in terms of the content, what the people on the panel thought was, who went there, thought was good, and if there's anything that they thought we could do better.
That's a tough question, because as Ward said, I attended a few talks in person, and I'm still waiting for the videos to see all of it. But I kept hearing from people about several talks that were mind blowing. And one to mention is Uri Shaked's accessibility talk, which I heard, and I already saw this talk before, but this time he actually did it a bit differently. And I heard lots of good things about that, but I didn't see a lot of talks myself. I don't know, maybe it's the adrenaline, maybe it's like Ward said, you go to see a talk and then you get stopped, you see someone you didn't see for 2 years. So you start talking and catching up, and next thing, it's the end of the day, and you just talked all day, And so that's what was my experience.
I think that's really great. If that's your experience, that's exactly what I want people to get out of it. But I did watch Uri's talk on YouTube today, and he did this amazing thing where he controlled a game, the little, the 404 on Google Chrome with the little dinosaur that has to jump over the cactuses.
The T-Rex.
Yeah. So he controlled that with his mind. He had some way of using his eyes or his mind or something to make the little T-Rex jump without touching the keyboard.
It's like a headband that is
it's
kind of measuring brainwaves. And so I think he rigged it to if he thinks about a certain thing, it goes up, and if he doesn't think about it, it goes down or something. And so that's how he's really an insane, awesome person. I love.
Yeah, and we just don't want to know what he is thinking about to make it go up and down. Just keep that to himself.
I'm just curious, were there any big announcements at Angular Connect? I know that the Angular core team sends folks.
One of the thing that got lots of people excited and created lots of buzz on Twitter, I noticed, was the talk by Rob Worlmold, which was about Angular elements. And this is one of the laboratory projects that's currently sort of being simmered, which is to provide Angular as custom elements. So you literally just drop a custom element into your web app, and it will work whether it's an Angular app or not, and sort of all of the Angular is encompassed inside the element. So everyone got very excited about that. That's probably one of the big announcements. There's also some cool stuff coming from the CLI guys. If I remember correctly, schematics is mentioned already. That's one of their big exciting areas. But I guess in some ways Angular is now maturing, and as a mature product, that we're not doing massive breaking changes of every. The breaking changes we have are very managed now, so they don't feel as sort of exciting and revolutionary as going from AngularJS to Angular was. So Angular Elements was probably the biggest thing, I would say. Anyone else notice anything?
Well, I will say parenthetically that Angular Elements is the future of the talk that Jesus and I did on dynamic page construction, which is really what Angular Elements allows you to do in a much more graceful way than we were showing. So Jesus and I showed the hard way, that is the way you have to do it today, and then Angular Elements is this sort of, and look, folks, all you'll have to do is drag the component onto the screen and it's yours kind of talk. So yeah, that and Rob was talking about that the whole conference long, and he always had a crowd around him that was interested in that. So I guess there's more interest in doing that kind of application than anybody really thought going in. I hardly saw any talks. I did attend Shai's hilarious, as did almost everyone, hilarious game show. But I did look at some of the videos later, and so if I had to pick one that just impressed the heck out of me, and I didn't see them all right, so if you're not mentioned, it's because I probably didn't see your video. But I really liked Alex Rickabaw's talk on which was titled Advanced Angular or something like that, and it was really an exploration of the things you could do with dependency injection to facilitate cross-component communication. And there were tricks in there that weren't really clear to me and documented anywhere that I knew about.
Yeah. I saw that talk with the read, where you can read a specific service out of a specific injector, which was amazing to see, like another trick to in the book, right? Or you can use. So it was amazing. I'd
always seen the read parameter there, but it was never documented. I didn't know what the heck it was reading or why it was called read. And it was annoying to me that nobody ever told me what that thing did, and now I know.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah.
One thing I liked, and I have to say, I always like sort of technologies that sort of rub up against the mainstream. I really enjoyed Adam Klein's talk about MobX.
Yep.
This is a kind of, it's sort of an alternative to Redux, maybe. It's a kind of store that does data, change detection automatically, but it's a really funky piece of technology, and it doesn't get that much exposure in the Angular community, but probably because of things like NGRX and the built-in change detection in Angular anyway. But I thought his talk was really clear, and I think it's just a really fun piece of technology that I'd love to try and work into a project at some point.
That was going to be my second mention, in part for. Out in the React world, MobX is the competitor to Redux, and it gets a fair amount of play because the two sides, the two proponents of it, are kind of duking it out for mindshare. And its big selling point is that there's not all that code to write. There's not a lot of boilerplate. I thought his talk showed, here it plays the same role as a competitor in some sense. To NGRX, because again, it goes right after the whole question of what do you do with all that boilerplate, and I think it's a very useful talk. He really opened some eyes, and he did a really great job of presenting it. So that was another favorite of mine.
I'll throw one more in there just because I was really pleased by it. There's a guy called Dominic Kundell who came and gave a talk about security, but he did it in a really nice way. What he did is he said, look, here's my example app. And he'd even put it out there. And then he got a friend who's a security expert to come along and just explain to him where all the flaws were. And first of all, he said, look, I've done all of these cool things that I've read about, and I've put in cross-site forgery detection and so on. And then his friend just picked all the holes in it and showed how you could basically break into his app and mess it up. And then he showed how you would fix those things. And so it was a real hands-on practical approach, but done in a really sort of mild-mannered way. He wasn't preachy at all. It was just very straightforward. Look, these are the things that were wrong with my app, and this is what I did to fix them. And I could really see how that would have been a really useful snippets of information that you could take straight into many people's projects around the Angular world.
Ooh, I got to check that out. Hey, I suddenly remembered another one. We were talking, Alyssa, you were talking about like what is new, what's on the frontiers of Angular. And so Rado did one on something that's known informally as the ABC project, which is Angular, Bazel, and Closure, which is a different build system that Google uses internally, and they're working to make that available to the rest of us. It'll matter to those of the rest of us who are building really big projects that take a long time to build. And I thought Rado did a really great job of showing what those technologies were, how they play together, and how it improves the performance of your development cycle. How it really does shave a lot of time off. So if you've been hearing about this Bazel thing and wondering what it's about and don't want to spend a lot of time learning about it, you want to just like 20 minutes, get the idea, and then decide whether you want to learn about it. Rado's talk was good.
Another highlight that I remember is Joe singing the Chicken Dance song on stage.
Dude, I had so much fun doing that. That was so cool. That whole bit was so cool.
I missed that. You got to do that for me, Joe. You got to do that for all of us.
You missed that?
I was just saying it. I was like, the music. I was making noises to the music. I was pretending like I was a music instrument. It wasn't really. You don't sing it. You're just making the noises.
Is there video of this? We've got to get it on YouTube.
Yeah. It will be on YouTube. So just to give a context, during the NG Game Show, I actually didn't have time to add all the sound effects that I wanted to add. So I had to improvise on stage and just randomly take people or do the sound effects myself to create attention and stuff like that. So one of the tasks we needed to do is to dance the chicken dance, and Joe volunteered to sing it and I think you did a great job. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
But it was amazing.
We always knew he had talent. We just didn't know what that talent was.
Yeah.
I've heard Joe play the piano. He's actually quite talented on that too.
Thanks.
Wait, what? I
play the
feel
piano.
so deceived. Yeah, you really. This is you like
feel deceived.
in a relationship. You tell up front, like I'm great at Angular. I like speaking, and I play the piano. Right? Like you don't hide that from people, Joe.
I've been doing that from now on. That's going to be my new policy. As soon as I meet anybody, in case we become friends, I want you to know. On the off chance that you and I become friends, you've now been informed.
Thank you. That'd be nice.
I play the piano, just so you know. So we won't have any surprises.
I get a tattoo on my forehead.
Goodness.
All right. Well, is there anything else that we should cover before we get to picks? We've been talking for about an hour.
Well, I want to know what Alyssa was doing when she wasn't at Angular Connect, and then I think we're done.
Oh man. Well, that actually could lead right into picks because the answer to that is technically my pick. Although it's not really a pick, it's just like my update in news. So I'm gonna stop dithering and tell you. So I had a job. I actually started a new one this week. But the one before this, the reason I had to leave was because they told me no more conferences. And that is the reason that I could not attend Angular Connect was because I did not find a job fast enough. Legitimate. Because I really wanted to go and everyone, the big name peeps were like, wait, you're not going? And I'm like, yes, keep rubbing it in. So I got hired at Kendo UI as their Angular developer advocate. So now I have no excuse next year and I should be actually at all Angular events now. So that's my job.
Awesome.
I'm super pumped. I know, right? So yes, that is my sad sob story, but it has a happy ending. So yeah.
Nice.
Congrats, Alyssa.
Was that the job that Burke Holland was doing before?
Yes, he was. Man, Chuck, you know everybody. It freaks me out, man.
Of course, he went over to work with John Papa, didn't he?
I think so. John, can you confirm? I think he is at Microsoft or was or is.
Yeah, Burke was I might get his title wrong. He was like the director of developer relations for all of their products. And yes, I stole him.
And a good steal it is. A good steal it is. Because Burke's worth following. He would be my pick. He's going to be my pick.
Awesome. Sorry, I interrupted you, Alyssa. Was that everything?
Oh, no, I was just going to be like, yep, that was it. I was just going to say that was my pick. So.
Yeah. And my echo chimed in and said, yes, that's everything. So I wonder if you ever have that problem at your house. Anyway, Joe, what are your picks? As a developer, you love building things that are fun and that matter. Do you want to add authentication to yet another app? Do you want to stay updated with all the security issues and patch them? Why not leave that to the experts? Auth0 is the easiest and fastest way to implement real-world authentication and authorization architectures into your apps and APIs. You can allow your users to log in with either regular username and password, social identity providers like Facebook and Twitter, or enterprise identity providers like Active Directory, Office 365, or without passwords with an email login like Slack or phone login like WhatsApp. Getting started is very easy. Add authentication to your Angular 1 or 2 Plus or Ionic app in less than 10 minutes by writing only a few lines of code. No credit card required. Get the free plan or try the enterprise plan for 21 days at auth0.io/adventures in Angular. That's auth0 with the number 0. Auth0 is trusted by developers at Atlassian, Mozilla, Bluetooth, Optimizely, Financial Times, and the Wall Street Journal. Try it out at auth0.io/adventures in Angular. That's the number 0 in auth0 and get back time building core features.
All right. So I am going to pick audiobook that I've been listening to lately that is just so freaking amazing. I've actually been listening to it for a long, long, long time. It's called Cabin Pressure. And what it is it's a dramatization done by the BBC. And it's got, who's the guy that plays Sherlock? What's his name?
Benedict Cumberbatch?
Benedict Cumberbatch, yes! Yep. It's got him. It's actually quite a bit older. He did it a long time ago. Okay. And it's just super hilarious. I know I picked it before. it's like a family favorite. It's pretty darn clean and just absolutely hilarious. Cabin Pressure, and it's a radio dramatization, comical, like 30-minute episodes about a crew of people who work on a small airline that has one private jet. That's it. That's all that they have is one jet, and they go on it. You know, they fly from place to place. They try to stay alive, and it's
spoiler alert.
Yeah, you know, they try to keep the company alive. Is really what I meant. You know, not.
Oh, there's like multiple. There's multiple of them. There's like episodes or series.
Oh yeah,
or
there's like
wow.
20 episodes or something like that all together in this whole thing. So anyway, I highly recommend that Cabin Pressure, and then I would be remiss to not mention the NGConf 2018 tickets are on sale right now, and I'm very excited for that and what that's going to be, and all the exciting plans that we've got. So that's it.
Awesome. John, what are your picks?
My big pick is one of my favorite TV shows. Not my favorite. One of mine was called Psych. Just loved watching that. The kids could watch it. My wife, whole family's on USA for years. Super funny and comical. They're doing a movie for TV that's coming out this week, actually. So they're getting the gang back together to do movies coming on TV, and we're all excited. My kids are asking me every day, "You recording it? So,
John, I had no idea you were into Psych. Me and my wife, we are super Psych, especially my wife. She's a super. We are having a party at my house, like 25 people coming over to watch the movie. We have actually gone on vacation to Vancouver, British Columbia, to go around to all the places where they filmed Psych.
You didn't invite me?
You didn't invite me? I will invite you next time, I promise.
Bum, bum, bum. Muffins. If you know what that is, look it up.
All right. Shai, what are your picks?
I got a pick for you guys. So I've been researching the topic of dependency injection lately. Really deep dive into dependency injection because I'm writing a course about it. And when you research a topic, you always get into these branches of what that thing is and what that thing, and let's see the history of that. And, this is how my mind works. So I keep finding myself at 5 a.m. after a YouTube binge of hours of lectures. So one of those lectures was by Uncle Bob Martin, who's the probably most of the world already know him, but is the guy who wrote the Clean Code book, and just a famous developer and speaker. So he had a lecture about called The Solid Principles of OO, Object-Oriented, and Agile Design. And basically, don't expect him to tell about all the solid principle, which is an acronym for a bunch of practices and patterns of object-oriented. But during this talk, he gives a great history lecture about object-oriented and how it was created and from where, and all from the 50s, I think, and all the way to this day and age. So it's a really fascinating history lecture. Not that much about code, although he do get into it. He does get into it in the end, but very, very interesting. So that's one pick. The other pick is an interview me and Chuck did, I think last year, that I just released on the YouTube channel, on the Hi-Res YouTube channel. And it's pretty interesting, especially the end of the interview, which I got a lot of response for. So yeah, that was so that's my other pick. So you should check those both out. And I just also officially released the Angular Basics course, which is a free course on highres.io, so you could check it out as well if you want to learn Angular.
How many retweets have you got on that now, Shai?
Wow, dude. I got like, I think over 200 tweets. It's my most viral tweet ever. The last one was like 4 retweets. So this is a big improvement.
Didn't you say you were going to throw your laptop out the window if you didn't reach 1,000?
Yeah, I promised that I will install Windows 95 on my Mac and throw it out the window if I won't reach 1,000 retweets. But I didn't say when, so it might reach 1,000. I give it a year, and then I will install Windows 95. Just need to get the CD-ROM to order it.
I think it comes on 15 floppies, actually.
Oh, and one of them has an error, and you need to go to your friends and copy the whole thing again, right? So I'll do it. That's my picks. Those are my picks.
Yeah, it broke my heart when I found out my niece doesn't know what a floppy is. I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
It's only going to get worse.
My daughter, she didn't know about TVs that can't be paused.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
My story is we were riding in the car and my 2-year-old didn't like what was on the radio, so she told Alexa to play something else.
Oh my God. Yes. I love
that's
child.
awesome.
All right.
Shai, what's the link to that Uncle Bob talk?
I will post it here in the notes.
All right, Ward, have we gotten your picks yet?
No, I got 3 quick ones. One of them is Burke Holland's Twitter handle because he's worth following. One of the things that's interesting is that he's busily exploring Vue and React and things like that. And so he's doing this cross-pollination thing. And I think he's just good to follow. My next one is because John Papa was telling me about this 19-second video he did that got a lot of tweets, which is, it's just so ridiculous, is how to uppercase a string in VS Code. So I'm linking to that one. So you can add to the ridiculous... Is
this like the pencil sharpening thing?
Yes, it's exactly like that.
Oh my gosh,
it's John Papa's own pencil sharpening.
I don't understand. What's the pencil sharpening reference?
Oh, well, we'll get you that. I'll paste that in, too. That's one of the greatest documentaries of all time, which is an extensive video on proper pencil sharpening technique. Now, you might think that is a joke, and I will find it, but the guy is serious as the day is long. Oh, you're going to love it. So I guess I have 4 picks. My next pick is, because Peter won't do it for himself, is a video of Peter talking about Jenny, which is the little technique that we actually use it. It's behind the scenes in your Angular documentation. It's part of how we create that Angular documentation. And so shout out to Pete there. And then I'll go find the pencil sharpening video, and I will put that link in our show notes.
God bless you, man.
All right. Joe, I think I moved on too quick because you say you have another pick.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I do have one more pick. My Pluralsight course on migrating from AngularJS to Angular just launched today as we record this, which won't be today when this goes out, but it launched today with the course before, which is on getting ready to migrate. I've got a total of 8 hours of coursework on migrating from AngularJS to Angular, which I believe, unless I'm mistaken, I could be mistaken, but I believe that is the most complete source anywhere on migrating, the most comprehensive content you can find anywhere on migrating from AngularJS to Angular. So
you go, Joe. You go.
Yeah, it's been a topic that has always been a passion of mine. So I was really interested to do this course and put it out. And there we go. That's my. I'm risk I don't pick that as well.
Awesome. I'm going to jump in here with a couple of picks. One of the big ones for me is I've been talking to a bunch of people kind of out in the wider community, including one of my neighbors who actually does code in Angular. And as I've talked to people, I'm still talking to a lot of people who are doing AngularJS or Angular 1.x, however you want to refer to that. And so what I'm curious about is if you're still using AngularJS or Angular 1.x, I want to know why. I'm not looking for, to convert people to Angular 2 or Angular or whatever you want to call it. I'm not looking to tell people they're doing it wrong. What I'm really curious about is why. And I've heard a whole bunch of interesting answers. I think a lot of them make a lot of sense. So if that's the case, then let me know. You can either tweet at me at CMaxW, CMAXW on Twitter, or you can just email me, chuck@devchat.tv. I'd really, really like to know, and then I'd like to do a show on it and just talk through some of those reasons and, see what the panel thinks about a lot of that stuff. I'm also going to send an email out to the email list to see what kinds of responses I get from the people who are subscribed to the mailing list as well. Pete, what are your picks?
Hi, so I've got a couple. The first one is a fantastic new piece of technology which we're incorporating into the Angular docs, which is called Stack Blitz. You may have come across it, but basically it's an online IDE which is built on top of VS Code, basically for building Angular and also React applications in your browser. It's really remarkable because they've managed to effectively create an IDE environment which looks like you're using the Angular CLI. So for people who are learning Angular, this is an amazing resource, and we're going to be actually changing all our online examples to link to the Stack Blitz so that they match much closer to what we're actually talking about in the guides. Ward and Jesus have been doing work on this, and it's going to be really cool. So definitely go and check that out. The other thing is a book I was given for my birthday by my father-in-law, which is called Soonish. It's by Kelly and Zach Weinersmith, and it's basically these guys just write really beautiful and entertaining and educating information about technology which is coming over the horizon. So the subtext for the document for the book is 10 emerging technologies that will improve and or ruin everything. And they throw in a few cartoons and things. It's a really good book to read, and I'm enjoying it. It's got stuff to do with what was it? Some crazy food generating device which is going to solve all of humanity's eating crises and everything, but most of it will probably never happen. But I'm really enjoying that book, so definitely check that out.
Let's see that link in the show notes, man. That'll be cool.
It's going in.
Yep. Megan, what are your picks?
I literally just turned to Pete and said, "What's a pick?" So I don't have anything cool or fun lined up, but this has been my first podcast, and it's been a lot of fun. So thank you so much for inviting me on.
One thing you should say, Megan, is that they should be definitely listening out on Twitter for sneaky teasers for next year's Angular Connect, because we've got some exciting new ideas that are going to come out for next year.
Yeah.
So follow our tweet stream.
All right, will do. Well, thank you both for coming, and thanks everyone for your input and telling us what it was like to be there. If people want to know about next year's Angular Connect, what do they do?
The easiest thing is to follow our Twitter stream. It's just Angular Connect is the handle. That's where we're going to make all our announcements. The website, angularconnect.com, already is sort of readied for next year, but we'll start putting information on that in the new year. So we'll have some big announcements probably before NGConf kicks off around that time, maybe.
And sign up for the mailing list.
You can also follow Pete in the street if you want to know more.
Yeah, because I often leave information on my
Pete in the street.
Pete in the street.
So just follow me around.
Nice. Yeah, it looks like you.
I want to see somebody tweet that #Pete in the street.
Okay, done. Challenge accepted.
Yeah, it looks like there are dates on the website and stuff. So, yeah, if you're wondering what the deal is, go check it out. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks, everyone, for coming, and we'll catch everyone next week.
It was great. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for coming,
guys.
Cheerio.
Thanks so much. Cheerio.
Bandwidth for this segment is provided by CacheFly, the world's fastest CDN. Deliver your content fast with CacheFly. Visit CACHEFLY.com to learn more.